Hi everybody! So do you remember that I told you we need the coding language along with HTML that gives a website its look and layout? Cascading Style Sheets or CSS is used to format the layout of a web page and make the front end of a website shine. A web page without CSS is like a cake without frosting. A frostingless cake serves its purpose, but it doesn't look appetizing. CSS allows us to associate style properties with HTML elements, such as background color, font size, width, height, and more. Like HTML, CSS is not technically a programming language. It doesn't let us perform actions. It simply allows us to add styles to bare-bones HTML. I also mentioned all HTML elements can have attributes that provide additional information about elements. CSS can be added to HTML documents using the style attribute. Let's edit our HTML example and change the color of first heading. You can easily and quickly insert CSS rules to an HTML page. But think of the large websites. The point is, adding CSS rules to every HTML element is time-consuming and makes your HTML structure messy. So the most common way to add CSS is to keep all styles in external CSS file. In this way, the external style sheet can be used to define the style for more than one HTML page. To use an external style sheet, add a link to it in head section of each HTML page. The external style sheet must not contain any HTML code and must be saved with CSS extension. Here is what the style.css file looks like for our example. As HTML was created to describe the content of a web page, it was never intended to contain tags for formatting a web page. When tags like font and color attributes were added to the HTML 3.2, it started a nightmare for web developers. Development of large websites where fonts and color information were added to every single page became a long and expensive process. To solve this problem, W3C created CSS. It removed the style formatting from the HTML page and saved in an external CSS file. With an external style sheet file, you can change the look of an entire website by changing just one file. To associate CSS styles with our HTML elements, there are two pieces to this puzzle: CSS-selector, declaration block. The CSS selector points to the HTML element you want to style. Declaration blocks are surrounded by curly brackets. Each declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolons. Each declaration includes a CSS property name and value, separated by a colon. This is another example. In this one, all P elements will be center aligned with a red text color. P is a selector in CSS. It points to the HTML element you want to style. This means that the styles inside the curly brackets will apply to all P tags on the web page. Color is a property name and red is the value. Text align is a property name and center is its value. The grouping selector selects all the HTML elements with the same style definitions. Let's change the background color of H1, H2, and H3 element all the same style. This time, instead of text editor, I'm gonna use Visual Studio Code, which is a source code editor that can be used with many programming languages. So to select all the HTML elements with the same style and to minimize the code, it will be better to group the selectors. The universal selector selects all HTML elements. This CSS rule will affect every HTML element on the page. You can also use class or ID selector to identify multiple elements or specific element on your website. Alright guys, that was what is CSS and a little bit about how it works. A modern day website is made up of 3 different files or codes. There are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The question is if we can use HTML to build the structure of a web page and CSS to make it look pretty, why do we need JavaScript? In the next video, we'll talk about JavaScript. That's one of the core technologies of the World Wide Web. You know who is the creator of JavaScript programming language, don't you? Okay, check out my Brave video if you skipped. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a share, it would be highly appreciated. And if you have not yet subscribed to the Smartister channel, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.